All right, y'all, we're back in the shop. It's been, I don't know, a week or two since I put the transfer case together, but we got the Scout in here, as you can see, and there's our transfer case. So let's go underneath here and I'll show you why it is that we need to swap this transfer case out, and then we'll get it done. So if we come under here and get our light up in here where we can see. So right here you can see the rear output of the transfer case, and see that up and down right there? That rear bearing is gone, and problem is, I know why it went, is because this drive shaft right here, I don't know if it shows up on the camera, but there's a ton of slop in these splines, and unfortunately I knew about that and didn't want to spend the money on a drive shaft. So as the old saying goes, pay me now or pay me later. That slop is what probably took out that bearing right there. But we got our spare transfer case, so we're going to have to get this transmission tunnel pulled and get this transmission out, or get this transfer case out of here. So we'll have to pull these pull this rear drive shaft off. I actually have a new drive shaft right there leaning up against the cabinet over there to go in. Now the front drive shaft is already new, but we'll still have to pull it off to get this transfer case out of here. So pull those two off. We'll pull the transmission tunnel to make it easier to get to the top bolts, and then we will pull, we got a couple of bolts over here on this side mount, and pull that back off there, and then wiggle it through this hole right here to get it out, because we got a cross member here that I don't really want to remove, being that it's been welded in place. And I've done this before, so I know it fits through that hole, but it has been a while, so we'll see how it goes. So first thing I got to do, like I said, disconnect pull the two drive lines out, and then drain the oil out of this thing. And the reason I want to drain the oil is, one, I want to see what it looks like, and two, this transfer case is open where it bolts to the back of the transmission, and if you don't drain the oil, then when you pull this out of here and you tilt it all around trying to get it down out of here, you're going to leak oil anyways. So better off to go ahead and drain it. So let me get these drive lines pulled, and I'll bring you back when I go to drain the oil. Let's see how much metal is in that oil, and we'll go from there. So I'll be back. All right, we've got the transmission tunnel out. So I didn't film doing all that because it's just a bunch of bolts. But now that that's out of there and we've got our drive lines off, we can see that is no bueno. It's no bueno. And I checked, the nut is tight. It's not a matter of that being loose. So if we go over here and look, you'll see that, let me see if I can get this on camera, because it's not, so I can show you exactly what it was that caused this problem to happen in the first place. So one, you can see that the seal is shot on this thing, but you hear all that slop in that thing? And this is a pretty decently long drive shaft. And with that much slop in there, as it's spinning, it's just beating the crap out of that back bearing in that transfer case. So we'll get these swapped out, and first we'll go ahead and pull the plug on this. I want to see, because it may be, I may be able to pull just the top out and put a bearing in it without going all the way, because if this oil is not full of glitter, we may be okay. Let's see what happens when we pull the plug here. See what comes out of this thing. Oh, that oil looks good. See, that oil looks good, so we may not be swapping this transfer case out. We may be just pulling that top end out and seeing, because this oil looks good. There is no metal in there. That's a magnet. That's a magnetic plug. There's no metal on it. We may be able to save this thing. Now you'll notice that oil's blue. That's a Swepco oil. It's very expensive, unfortunately. So these transfer cases take 90 weight, but what you got to remember is it's GL1 grade 90 weight, which is kind of hard to find. It's not 90 weight gear oil like you go buy at the auto parts store. That's actually too thick. GL90, well, you saw it coming out there, and it's more akin to like 50 weight motor oil. But you can get it if you go to Tractor Supply. You can get this Traveler all mineral SAE 90 Ford tractor transmission fluid, and it is GL1 rated. If you look at the back here, API service GL1. So this stuff's safe to use in these old transfer cases that have brass parts. If you put the thicker oil in there, sometimes you'll starve those bearings. Anyways, let me do some regrouping and checking, because if I can put another bearing in that top part without having to pull the transfer case, we may go that direction, and just put the new drive line in that I have sitting over there. So let me check that out and I'll get back with you. All right, y'all, change of plans. I had to go and check my old Novak instructions from 10 years ago, the last time I messed with a Dana 20. And instead of swapping out this whole transfer case, because there's no metal in it, everything in the side of it's still good, it's just the rear output on it is jingle jangly. But luckily with the Dana 20, you can just unbolt the ring of bolts and slide the rear output out just like that and swap them. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to take the 5 bolts out of that one and pull it out, stick it over in this transfer case, and at a later date, such as I have time, I will go ahead and fix the bearings in it, and then that transfer case will be a spare again. And we're going to take this rear output from the spare transfer case, which has good bearings in it, and stick it in our transfer case in the Scout and bolt this thing back together and be good to go. It dawned on me that I thought I could do that, but I had to go check a book because, like I said, it's been a while since I messed with one of these Dana 20s. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the bolts out of that one and pull it off. I am going to pull my plug out. I've got a plug in it where this doohickey goes for the speedometer, which my Scout doesn't have a speedometer, so I just have a plug in there. I suspect that I bought this transfer case. It was supposed to have been rebuilt, and it was. I mean, I saw the bearings and everything, and I don't know if they got the end play wrong on it or what, or if it's just a bad bearing. It could just be a bad bearing, but I'm kind of leaning more towards end play now with the shims because there's no metal in the oil. But regardless, we're going to pull that out, slap our other one in there, and put the old girl back together with the new drive shaft and call it a day. So let me get that pulled out of there and get set up to do that, and I'll be right back. Alright, I got the 3 bolts in the bottom out. We'll get these 2 top ones out and we'll yank this out of here. These had Loctite on them. Alright. Should. Now I had to get a rubber mallet and give it a little tappy tap. I'll be right back. Alright, now I got the mallet here. Whoa. Make sure your foot's on something solid. Alright. Man, he glued that thing on there good. Alright, let me get a different tool. Man, I am here to tell you, this thing is stuck on here but good with some RTV. I don't know what kind, but I kind of want to use some of it. It seems like it's pretty damn awesome. But we got it moving. I just had to beat on it enough with the old rubber mallet. But she's coming on out of there now. Hopefully I'm not blocking y'all too much. Ah, there we go. Yeah. There she goes. Alright. Yeah, I'm going to have to clean all that crap off of there before we put the new back in there. All right. So, yep, that just can go. Chair will stop spinning on me. I can't do this with one hand. So we'll just get that kind of in there, I think. Hopefully this will be a little easier going back in with the other one, because I won't keep pushing the transfer case around since it's bolted in the truck. All right. Quit moving, damn it. There we go. All right. So we got the old one, and I'm just gonna stick these bolts back in here to hold it until later, and I'm going to get my plug off. And I'm just, like I said, I'm stick those back in there just to kind of keep everything together. And I'll have to come back later and repair that, but we need to get this piece out of here and stick it in the other one. So let me get that done and I'll be back. So what this is, just so you understand what I'm doing, this is the adapter for the speedometer. It goes into the housing right here, and then the speedometer cable gearbox, this screws onto it, and then the speedometer screws into there. But if your Scout like mine has no speedometer, years ago I made this piece. So this is the old speedometer thing with the center of it knocked out, and I drilled it out and tapped some threads in there for a plug. So that just screws right in there. So I'll get some pipe dope on that, or some Teflon tape, get that screwed in, and we'll be ready to go back in the vehicle. Be right back. All right, y'all. We have got our gasket mating surface cleaned up. We got a light coat of RTV around it. We've got a new gasket on our rear output, and we're going to get this thing slid home and get the bolts started on it. And if I get in the way of the camera, I apologize, but I cannot see what I'm doing if I'm not down here where I'm at. And I gotta get this jiggled into place there, such as that right there. All right. So I got some Loctite on each one of these bolts, And the reason for that is these holes go all the way through, so you need some sealing on them. Get the holes lined up. Get the bolts started there. Alright, those are started. Alright, so got the gear engaged and got the bolts started on the top. Now we got to go underneath, get the bolts started on the bottom, and then tighten them all down. Again, put your little Loctite on all of them. It's not to keep the bolts from coming out, it's to seal the threads so that oil doesn't leak, because those bolt holes go all the way through. So let me get this bolted in and I'll be right back. All right, so now our transfer case is back good to go. We can reinstall everything, including our new drive line, to hopefully prevent this from happening again, and get our transmission tunnel put back in and all that good stuff. So first, before we do all that, I'm going to get some lunch. So I'm going to go get some lunch, and then we will get the drive shafts put back in and the tunnel put back on and all of that good stuff. And we will be done with this job, and we will be back to being able to drive this vehicle and on to other stuff. So I'll be back. All right, y'all. So I came back from lunch. I went ahead and filled this thing up with oil. So, shit. Let me show you. Let me get up in here. So, this will be easier to see from the top, but let me get the camera down in here. So this plug right here, oh, put some light on it. So there's a pipe plug right here. That is your fill and your oil level. So pulled that out, filled this thing back up with that same Swepco blue blue gear oil. This is very hard to do one-handed. All right. So now we've lost the light. Anyways, we got it's filled back up with oil, and I went ahead and put the front drive line in. So, oh, all right. The battery's about to go dead on this, so I'll just show you real quick. So I'm going to put the rear drive line back in. Everything else, the transmission tunnel and stuff, depending on how yours is, you just go back the opposite of what you did. I got to fight all these wires and everything to get my stuff back in there. But once we get all that back in there, should be good to go. I mean, it was working before I pulled it in here. It was just the rear drive shaft and rear output on the transfer case were flopping around, but they won't anymore because they'll be good. So hopefully this video has helped you. If nothing else, if you got a Dana 20 and you just have a bad output shaft bearing and it hasn't dumped a bunch of metal into your oil, you can just swap that part out instead of swapping the whole transfer case. Or you can swap the whole transfer case. It's up to you. Hopefully there'll be some more videos on the Scout here soon. Like I said, I got some things I got to do to it. I don't drive it that often, so it kind of always gets pushed to the back burner. But hopefully this video has helped y'all out or entertained you, and we will see you in the next video. Appreciate y'all watching. Y'all have a good one.